Thank you.
Well, thank you again so much. So we have Neha Sonney, and thank you so much again for joining, Neha. And the theme, I guess, that would be fabulous to explore is public speaking, your experience in it. I know you have been a president or are a president of a Toastmasters club and yeah, have written a book and have many accomplishments under your belt. So if it's okay with you, maybe just to start with a little bit of an overview of your background and sort of the highlights of what you've done, and then maybe we can get into how public speaking has become a part of that and has shaped from there.
Wow, it's like going back to my childhood. Because
right, I know what you mean actually with public speaking. Mine originates there fully as well.
Yeah, it was I was participating in a fancy dress competition, never been on stage alone before that time, and I'm all dressed up and rehearsing my 11-word line. And then my name is called on stage. I get to facing the mic, and 600 pairs of eyes are staring back at me.
600. Wow.
We had a humongous hall at my school. I grew up in Bahrain. So I become a mouse and I squeak into the mic a few words, and which probably nobody heard, and I ran off. I wanted to be swallowed by earth.
Yeah.
So that's my first experience with public speaking. But and after that, like, no speaking opportunities really happened, but leadership always called to me. And back then, what I thought leadership was about was the idea people have of standing on stage and going rah,
right.
And so that was my approach, the approach I brought to Toastmasters. And back then I didn't even know I was introverted. So it was like, and like I felt the need to share my story for a while, because I was living on my own. And like I was healing myself. I had to take time to heal myself from childhood trauma, really. So that's the journey of self-love. And so public speaking was just another tool.
How interesting. Yeah.
To explore my voice, explore like my message, my story. And just take things from there. I after that, like, okay, Toastmasters was an interesting experience. Great platform, but I think I was looking for something deeper that platform doesn't provide. And so through my journey, and I was also meditating back then. So I've been like on and off meditating since, I would say, 2010.
Okay. And that was part of the journey of self-love that you're describing, and sort of the healing journey that you were on.
Yeah, absolutely. Never meditated before that. Never, like, nobody in my family talked about it, nothing. I just happened to meet a lovely person who just openly shared everything with me, and especially books. I was like drawn to like just absorb every bit of spirit, because I was like literally destroyed if you're coming from other trauma. And so, like, what is that calling I'm feeling toward healing? So I just followed that, and one thing leads to another. And so that's been my journey. I've shared that in my book as well. And public speaking was a tool, I would say. I explored myself, but the deeper aspect, I would say, is the presence, and how I was understanding my behavior in front of an audience while I'm being watched, and the little nuances that I catch about myself and what that means. So I sat with that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and which is why my approach to public speaking is very different than yours, maybe.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's so interesting, because as I'm listening to you, I almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost hearing two things. There's sort of the inner deep personal journey and that work of self-love, self-healing, almost maybe a getting to know, like, who am I really? Who is this person? And then also, like you say, the nuance piece. And maybe that was more skill-based. I don't know, but it almost sounds like there's the skills and then the inner journey is separate, but coming together to sort of make your experience in the end and how you present yourself.
It was like a word that comes to my mind is, and that's something I've read in your articles as well as I've written about it, people pleasing.
Yes, right.
And just your expression is going to say everything about what I'm about to say just now, and that is how that shows up in our body language.
How interesting. How interesting. I love that. So was that, you were saying you started to notice nuances about, how you would come across on stage, etc. Is that
me. I want acceptance.
right? Yeah. So how did you find that, I guess, manifested itself in your body language? Was that how you first kind of noticed that? Is that?
I was noticing everything. And like, I would say I bring meditation a lot because I was noticing a lot of things in meditation already before I joined Toastmasters. So I was from, I would say, October 2016 to September 2018, I was with Toastmasters. So the second term that I mentioned in that journey is the time that I was a Toastmaster president. So I think I jumped too soon into that without even knowing. But
that's amazing, though. I mean, that shows your, I guess, willingness and eagerness to jump in and really overcome or, bring yourself to a place where you were developing, as you say, that leadership aspect as well.
I scare myself to death. Well, part of, the part of this journey of personal development, like, it is about facing your fears. And I don't think there is anything more crazy you would do than public speaking, start into public speaking, because public speaking is the biggest fear people have, second only to death.
Isn't
and why
shocking?
not?
And sometimes bigger. Yeah.
Right? Why not?
Amazing.
So it's like I'm a deep diver since the time I have known myself. I used to write. You used to write poetry when you were younger. I read your posts and I said, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to do that too. Writing came much later, but I think even writing my book was, I was blogging for a while, but then writing my book made me fall in love with writing itself, because it's like the whole process. And so storytelling, I would say, was part of it. So now public speaking and storytelling are just tools.
Right.
Now for personal development and exploring myself. And who I am and what is my story. So each time where I'm standing in front of people, what is the message I'm trying to convey? What is my body language telling me?
Right.
Is this person in alignment with what she's trying to say? Because I read, like, I was single at the time, and Julianne, right? Yeah. So I was single at the time, and every single time I would come back and I would analyze my body language, study the other person's body language, and just I was basically studying. Learning a lot about myself and through body language and what it is that we're mirroring or not, and what am I understanding about where this is going or not going, whatever the intention was. So like, it's just taking that on understanding to a platform like Toastmasters on public speaking is just taking that to the next level of understanding, again, myself.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. I think there's so much in there, Neha, as well. Sort of, thinking about your self journey. I guess one thing that really strikes me is, do you feel that the type of speaker you were changed in relation to where you were on that self journey?
I never saw myself as that. And after, well, if I have to look at Toastmasters, and storytelling after that, I certainly see like now I can distance myself, and why I understand why some people may have resistance to joining Toastmasters. If they come
Right.
in for like a free session, they may find it too rigid, and like it's like this is what we're going to do step by
Right.
step. There's barely any time for socializing, getting to
Right.
know people. It's like really tight. But
Yes.
then it's like they don't want that. There needs to be a more
Hmm.
informality.
Yeah.
So, but there is also need for um, the need for connection, if you will, because
Hmm.
those masters, I left when they started the pathways about then.
Okay.
And so I don't know anything about, because it goes down to the path you want to take. So you could have chosen, anybody could choose storytelling and whatever else, like whatever is specific to them. But I never explored that. So
Yeah.
maybe I am wrong, and don't take my opinion of my experience of those masters as personal, because your
No, I
journey is
can
going to be very
relate to
different.
that. I've heard so many people, and actually that would have been my criticism, I guess, as well. Maybe
Mm,
not criticism, but I just relate to what you're saying in that it is so structured. It can drive people away, I think. Um, and my experience in it, I sort of came to it and came away from it so many times over maybe 15 years or so. It was kind of, I was part of a club, got to know the people, loved the people. And to your
yeah.
point, it was the connection that really was so valuable. And I think
Mm,
that through Toastmasters, I started to, I guess, experience that feedback with an audience.
yeah.
And standing up and working to where I got comfortable and also knew the audience, and then have a forum where there was open feedback between myself and them was amazing. I
Mm.
completely agree with what you were saying, though. I think, if I was thinking of someone who was going to join Toastmasters, I would kind of echo what you just said, and don't get thrown off by the structure, and kind of take what you need from it, because
Yeah.
I think you're right. A lot of people probably are a bit thrown by that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was like one thing that I really, really enjoyed about Toastmasters, and those were the impromptu speeches.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
because that's like, it just, you don't have a chance to do too much thinking. You just have
Yes.
to be on your feet and doing
Yes.
that along the way. So I love, everybody dreaded that. I love that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's interesting too. I wonder if there's I something else you said that I can relate to is being an introvert. And I
Yeah.
read something by Susan Cain, who wrote the book called Quiet. And she was talking about how when you're an introvert, you need to think things through and really have a good understanding of what you're going to say, et cetera. So I think for me, the improv piece, it was so spontaneous, but I think because it was expected that you wouldn't have an idea what you were going to say, maybe made it okay, and that I had less anxiety around it. I'm not sure, but
That's interesting. That is
yeah.
very interesting. So I would totally relate. I can understand what you mean by that, because like then you don't have a chance to even think or contemplate.
Right,
You are in the present moment. And
right.
this is so close to meditation.
That is so interesting. So, can you explain to me, or I would love to learn more about, I know you said sort of the keys for your success as a public speaker, meditation factors heavily in that. And you had three other ones, which we can come to as well. But can you sort of take us through how did that shape your public speaking experience, and how did that help you as a tool um, in terms of helping you become a better speaker and maybe overcome some fear?
I think awareness. The fear factor is always going to be there, Julianne.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
Um, but I think it was, of course, rehearsing and understanding. So
Yeah,
I think public speaking, then if you understand it as a skill, then you can relate to a lot of what you say, because you're practicing your speeches. I would
right,
notice when I'm repeating my speeches, and I wrote down my speeches, but I would never say it the way I wrote it.
right. Yeah,
So that was like, okay, that's an interesting discovery. There's a lot of, little things that you become aware about. And these things when you meditate. And
Mhm.
so meditation, these are the things when you start meditating, it's you notice things, but then
Yeah.
that awareness
Yeah.
will permeate other areas of your life
Right.
inevitably.
Right.
So it's just bringing that awareness. And so like
Interesting.
just sitting with that, and instead of going, oh my God, what did I do? Oh my God, I was people pleasing. Oh my God, oh my God.
Right. Yeah.
Judging your own feedback from your performance on the stage,
Yeah.
versus this is what I was doing. This is what it means.
How interesting. How interesting. So almost coming from a more objective place in terms of assessing actually sort of the objective parts of speaking and looking at yourself rather than a place of judgment and, as you say, that people pleasing. Oh, I could have done that. I was going to say this and I didn't. And oh, shoot, all these things. Is objective kind of a word for that, would you say?
Yes, yes. And meditation teaches you to look,
Distance.
just observe, watch what's this movie playing out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
And we're just
interesting.
constantly projecting that.
Yeah.
And after that awareness, you're just gonna slow down and be noticing of your words, be noticing of your body language.
Yeah. I love that. I love
Oh,
that. So did that factor in, Neha, too? Would you have a special routine? Would you, I guess a question that comes to my mind too is, would you meditate if you had a big speech coming up? Is that something you would involve at a specific time in your preparation? Or is that more of you adopted that as a daily practice, sort of on the side, and then you've kind of realized through as going along and becoming a speaker and progressing in that way that it was giving you this awareness and kind of leading into helping you? I guess the question in that sense is, was it a specific tool that you kind of implemented with regularity with regards to speeches, or is it kind of just a daily, and not just, but a daily practice that you then realized was supporting your speaking, but was more an unintentional kind of realization or benefit?
meditation, I would say it was very important. And I didn't see the connection until I saw it.
Interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
and any I think you may have heard of Brian Tracy.
Okay. I'm not sure if I know the name, but yep,
Okay, so he's like, if you look up public speaking,
I
his
will.
books, his names, his name is the first that comes up. And
Interesting.
any um any platform that
Mhm.
teaches public speaking, and if they don't provide ideas, and like say they don't tell you meditation, they're not giving you the entire picture, and you're not going to learn what you
How
really really
interesting.
really must learn. Because
Yeah.
that, like, even Brian Tracy says meditate 5 minutes a day. Why? What has meditation got to do with public speaking?
Right. Right.
It-
I love it. I love it.
so it was just like meditation. When you practice meditation, for women it's slightly different. And I won't say I stuck with like the sitting down meditation. I practiced it in many different ways. So like on a daily basis, I
Mhm.
may not sit with myself for 5-10 minutes and meditate, close my eyes, unless
Yep.
I feel the need to do that. Like, and that came up for me last night.
Yep.
um if I'm eating a meal,
Mhm.
or I'm making chai for myself, I
Mhm.
am breathing that in, I am absorbing, I'm just fully present with that.
Interesting.
So people may think, oh, you need to sit down and say, oh, and all of those things.
Right.
That's not necessarily everybody's practice of meditation, and that's okay.
Yes.
However, can you practice
Yes.
present and
Yes.
just being with yourself? That's the difficulty people have. Like, people are,
Mhm.
you see people eating and staring at their phones. They don't even, they're not with their food,
They're
they're
not
not with
eating.
anything
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
it's like, how many ways are you letting all that information in?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how is it overwhelming you or not? It's
Yeah.
like constantly meditation is like you're getting it all this information,
Yeah.
but then do you have time to process that?
Yeah.
How are you going to process everything that you are
Yeah.
learning and
Right.
understanding?
Yeah.
Because when you understand, you dissolve so many knots inside the whole body. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's so amazing. So
Yeah.
it's like it's like when you have a trigger moment that like you have people feel so uncomfortable by silence.
Right. Yep.
And me, I'm the entire like complete opposite.
Yeah.
I deliberately create silence because
Right.
I know what I'm about to throw after that is a bomb. Going to That's going to explode into people's
I
head. Their
love
minds
it.
are going to be blown away by this information.
Right.
Why? How?
Yeah.
Because when you meditate, you don't have you are going to deliberately do that to yourself. You're
Yeah.
going to sit in silence.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you have the courage to do that? You
Right.
have the courage to do that, you will have the courage to face an audience of any size you
I
want.
love that. I love that. That's such a gem. And it's almost, I suppose as you were talking, it was interesting. I almost felt a bit of a visceral sensation. And this comes from a totally different angle, but I think it is similar in that, so last year I took a certification course to become a forest therapist, or a forest therapy guide, actually, I should say. And which has nothing to do with being a therapist at all. It's the forest is the therapist. And the training is how to take people into a forest type environment and be in the moment, be with yourself and just sit in nature and just let it do its thing. The forest is the therapist. The forest will give you what you need.
Yeah.
And that has been so powerful in my life. And so much has kind of changed, I think, with that whole self-awareness piece that you mentioned since then. So when I was listening to you describing your meditation and the feelings and sort of sitting there, I kind of got that visceral sensation of almost like being grounded, like it kind of grounds you. And how I could relate to that, I guess, is in forest therapy, all the anxiety, it just kind of flows away.
Yeah.
My interpretation of grounding is almost like a physical, it just kind of leaves my body through my roots into the land, into the ground, and it brings a sense of peace and calm, which I suppose could be described as in the moment. Does that resonate with you, where that's the place where you find the peace, and where, because you're practicing that, you can access that space more easily, more effectively? And as a speaker, that's how you control the nerves, or the place that you get to that has enabled you to kind of flip that fear, as it were?
um Being in the present moment uh is, you can't describe that for somebody else.
Right,
They have to experience it for themselves.
right, right.
and and this thing you talked about, the forest,
Mhm.
one of my first meditation recordings was called the forest meditation. How
Love
interesting is
it.
it?
Love it.
But yeah, and it's, I want to get a full picture of your question again, because it was a little too long. Can you repeat
Of
yourself?
course. Yeah. No, it's I guess that feeling of being in the moment, or when you meditate, sort of that sense of
Yes.
grounding, is that the place that you show up
Ah,
as a speaker? And is that sort of what allows you to deal with speaking nerves, or sort of flip that fear? Is that sort of, I guess, the medication, in a sense, that I know you and I had sort of briefly written about medication, and which is a whole interesting topic I'm so fascinated with.
hmm.
Is that kind of, is it almost like that for you, in a sense, where you feel that grounding, that sense of peace and calm and comfortable being comfortable with silence? And is that where you speak from if you're on a stage? Do you try to kind of cultivate that feeling before you go on stage? And is that
Yeah.
how you handle speaking nerves?
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking nerves are always, I would say, going to be there, at least for, I think practice is important. Practicing what you
Yeah,
have to say is
agree.
really important.
Yep.
And that would help me. And when practice me, what does practicing mean? I go deep. So you're practicing something, you have something important to say.
Yeah.
How is your body language going to communicate? Are you in alignment with what
Love
you're
that.
saying?
Are you congruent? Yeah.
Yes, so that inner congruence, how
Mhm.
is that going to come across? That needs to be there before you're on stage.
I love it. Yeah.
And then you can, and then it's not about what you're going to say. It's
Right.
about, first, do you understand what you're trying to communicate? Is that okay? There is public speaking. How much of that is in here
Yeah. In
for
your
you to
body.
be able to talk about? How
Yes.
well do you know yourself
I love
and
it.
that topic, and how can you make it personal
Yeah.
so that you share your personal story
Yeah.
versus somebody else's blabber and go blah 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 blah.
I love that. I love that.
So that understanding, like I said, when you do the meditation, it's like you're bringing that understanding to different areas of your life, and
I
public
get
speaking
it.
is just one of them.
That's so
So
fascinating.
practice regularly, regardless of whether you're going to public speak or not. So for
Yeah.
example, your question now, I don't know the next time I am going to be on stage, but being on stage just gives me a thrill. I
I can
love
relate.
conducting, as much as it may feel, but I will have, like, okay, I conducted workshops back when, like, there was no pandemic over here.
Yeah.
I look forward to doing those again, because now there is no requirements. Okay, we do have to wear a mask, which is still stupid, but still, it's like,
Speaking world has changed. Yeah, or did change.
yeah, move on. So yeah, exactly. It's sad, but so I'm going in there prepared with whatever it is. Then it's just the preparation is very important.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is grounded. It's like, after I'm prepared,
Yeah.
I don't care about the presentation. Even if the slides go wrong,
Yes.
I know the material here.
Yes. Yes.
I know the story. I know how to present it. So now, like, I used to worry myself
Yeah.
about, oh, what am I going to say? How's it going to go?
Right. What if
Now
I
it's
forget? Yeah.
internalized. Everything is
I love it.
internalized. So I may switch, but I know I need to come back to a certain thing.
Yes.
The more, like, then it's like, I have this points, and that's it. I go with that, and then I do interactive sessions, and basically I'm there, but I want the people to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And that happens organically, which is the best thing.
Yep. I love that. You have so many gems. I'm trying to kind of summarize as we go so I can capture them for people. I love it.
I was, before I started talk, like, was before I was going to come on to this session, I was like, is this going to be a series? Is it going to be just a one-off? We barely even know each other?
Oh, we should totally do it again. I know. It just feels so natural, though. I love it.
There's so much.
There's so much. There's so much. Yeah. And as you say, it's so deep too. It's like, how do you kind of sum that up? I think what I'm hearing, and it's beautiful, really. It's almost like starting with an awareness. So you're meditating, you're getting this awareness, this knowledge of yourself, your experiences, and your message. And then once you have kind of that awareness, or you have your message, then you're kind of going into your preparation. So as you said, you might write out your speech. So you have a flow, or a sense of flow in your head. But then as you progress in your preparation, you've said it out loud, the points, you've internalized them. I love that you said your preparation is grounding. So it kind of gives you that roadmap and the confidence to say, okay, I have this emotion. I have a roadmap of, say, 5 points that I know I want to hit. And because I've prepared and know the experience I'm conveying, I can weave throughout those to give my audience the best experience. So I'm not kind of stuck to a script in that. Does that did I sort of articulate that in a sense that feels resonant to you?
In a sense that feels resonance. Do you understand where feeling happens? I mean, you articulated it beautifully, because the script can be here,
Yeah.
and I can be accessing this,
Yeah.
and the moment I am here, I disconnect from the audience.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
This is why it needs to be here.
I love
This
it.
is the body.
I love it. And there's your congruence, right? There's your congruence.
Yes. You have to, this is why it's not like you may say the congruence, it needs to be just limited to public speaking. No. How congruent are you as a person? Do you mean what you say, and do you say what you mean?
Are you authentic in your life and how you come across?
Yeah. And that's why we should tell people, hey, try public speaking.
I love that. I love
bust
that.
all that BS that's going on inside you one by one.
You're so right. How do you, oh my gosh, this is I love it, because it's just sparking so many things, and your perspective is so incredible. It just has painted a new picture for me, because it's almost like, you're starting with the meditation, you're at the core. It's that question of kind of, who am I and what is my experience as a human, and kind of how does that feel? And that's really the place that the congruence is born almost. Would you say that that's accurate? Is that where you access that authentic piece that you can then bring to an audience, is in that meditation, in that grounding, kind of connecting with those emotions and the experiences that you might speak about?
Yeah.
And then you practice from that place. And when you get up to interacting with either an audience or one-on-one, or maybe even in writing, I wonder, is kind of interesting too, coming across with that authentic voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, writing, like all of this work and even meditation, two things literally change your brain: meditation and writing.
Yes. Interesting. Right. How interesting. I knew, actually, I guess I maybe knew that about writing too. Meditation, I've read some articles about, which is fascinating. I mean, it's a proven point. As you say, it literally changes your brain. And I would believe that about writing as well. That's really interesting, and helping to process events in your life, emotions, this kind of thing. And sort of learn more about the experience that you want to take from something or move on from.
And writing could be just another way to practice that meditation. And what are you doing in meditation? You're processing. Through writing also, you're processing. So what is meditation to me is writing to you. And you've been doing that since childhood,
I love
I guess.
that. Yeah. No. Thank you for having read some of those. Yeah, no, you're so right. It's so true. And yeah, getting in almost that flow state, I guess, which is maybe another analogy to, do you feel that the flow state, I guess, from a writing perspective, would that kind of align with that sense of awareness that you get from meditation also?
Flow state. Yeah, because like you can access the flow state, many different things that you do, anything, like I said, that keeps you in the present moment. For example, you may notice the dream catchers in the back.
I did. They're beautiful. Yeah.
So this something started for me about more than a year ago. And that was, again, like me processing my emotions. And it just helped, and I kept on creating, and I had like so many of these around me. But really helped to stay present. And not just that, but also, you mentioned creative. that space is where you get new ideas
Right.
as well.
Yes.
So it's like the processing happens, and then after the processing, what do you get? You
Yeah.
get an understanding, you
Yeah.
get clarity, you receive healing.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you're not when you're on the stage, you're not charged
Right.
by this and that, and oh my God, my makeup, my hair, my
Right.
it's my,
Yeah.
all of those
The
things.
minutiae or yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I need to switch off, otherwise that phone is going to keep ringing. My
Oh,
apologies.
please. No problem
Sorry,
at
one
all.
moment. One
Yeah.
moment.
Take your time.
How do I turn off my, sorry.
Do a question that I think would be really valuable, and that I would love to know the answer to as well, is if you were advising someone, so say I'm 18 years old, I'm applying to college, university, whatever it may be, and I am terrified of public speaking, but I know I'm going to have to do it. I know I'm going to have to get up on the stage in class, and I just don't know where to start. Or the same thing, I'm a business person and I've had a closeted fear. I don't want anyone to find out that I'm actually terrified to public speak, but I've decided I need to do something about it and overcome it. What would be your insights for people starting out at the beginning, saying, I'm going to take this fear on, it's time? What would you say in terms of how to approach it?
Start meditating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And like, if you can meditate, you possibly can do whatever else.
Yeah. Like you said, take on the world, right? Conquer the world with, yeah.
Because it like, lots of people write about meditation. There's tons
Yeah.
of research on meditation, but how many people do you know can sit with that silence
and practice it? Yeah.
Because when you're on stage, you are going to forget your lines.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Right.
How uncomfortable are you going to get?
Right.
How are you going to come back to yourself? How are you going to come back to your thoughts?
Right.
And in between that, the moment you stop talking and the moment you start talking again,
Yeah.
that silence, what all comes up, all the things that you have not addressed are going to come up for you.
I love it. Yeah.
Oh
So
my God,
it's kind of, it's action. I love it though. It really, it makes so much sense to me as you talk through, because I think I've kind of come to that similar feeling, and just from a different angle, through the forest therapy, et cetera. But that feeling of peace and grounding, it's almost a visceral, like it is a physical feeling, isn't it? And I can completely see what you're saying, where, when there is silence, or if your mind does go blank and you do sort of forget and you're on stage, but you're with yourself, you're in that moment, you feel that connectedness, that grounding, and you can easily start back. You can reclaim, I guess, with the preparation that you've put in as well, and knowing those bullet points that you were talking about earlier. If you have those two things in combination, that's a pretty strong set to go in with. Yeah.
I mean, know your material, but know yourself and how that applies to you. Because when you make it personal, is when people will be able to relate. Bring in your personal experience. Talk about your personal experience, and we do that through writing.
Yeah. I love that.
And I love the humor in your pieces.
Thank you.
You're bringing your momness, and like the kids are, I'm like, wow, how do you do that? Like, kids are destroying the house, and you can totally focus on writing.
Self-preservation. It's like, actually, you know what? That just clicked. I think that is my form of meditation. Going crazy, and okay, just right. Just be in that space. Let it all go. I think, that was a good insight, actually. I think that's exactly what that is. It's funny. Yeah. So your book, so Wired for Self-Love, I would love to just sort of, I know we're getting close to time, but would love to hear just a little bit about it. And it sounds like you've put so much of yourself into that, and I'm sure it does relate to your speaking journey in some ways. And if people who may be listening are curious and want to look into that more, I'd love for them to have a bit of an insight into what it is and what they might get from that or take from that related to what we talked about today too.
Everything a personal development book includes, my book does include, and it comes with a lot of exercises, and all of those exercises are with regards to getting to know oneself. So many different like tools, like I say, to get to know yourself, and boundaries, values, so many different things. Like what are your values? And our values are very personal to us. How everything teaches you how you might be disconnected from yourself. It's just bringing awareness of how might you possibly be disconnected from yourself, because that disconnect is going to show up as not knowing that part of you, and it might come out in the body language, because
and the not being congruent, right?
Yeah. So it's self-love is not superficial. It's not about going to the sauna and taking yourself a break. Okay, it could be that, being present with your cup of coffee, tea, whatever.
Right.
But there is so much more to how much are you going to be with yourself? Because people are afraid to be with themselves, but they want others to be with them. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, to distract almost from what's inside. Yeah.
And this is why, like, I mean, my like childhood trauma, and trauma will disconnect a person from themselves. And if there is throw in narcissism, and then you're completely destroyed. You graduate to adulthood like a child. And I was like a child having a child. So how do I teach someone something I have never seen in my own parent?
Right.
How do I teach that? I don't know empathy. I don't know compassion. I don't know nothing about loving myself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my life, like the reason why I embarked on getting to know myself, and on the journey of learning to love myself, and even knowing myself, was when my son was born.
How interesting. And you became a parent.
When I became a parent, I mean, my life completely changed, because I shared this in a story, and I said, like, there was a moment where I was about to like whack a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Because so much that was unresolved, unaddressed, unheard in me.
Yeah.
And all I saw from my parent was anger.
Right.
And I will mirror that.
Right. Because it's what you know.
Yeah. And I had made a decision about being a different mother when I was 11 years old.
Really?
Because what I noticed, I mean, when your parent is screwed up, you will know they're a little bit screwed up.
Yeah.
But you won't know anything, what you can do about it. Like, why is this person loving? So I don't know how much experience you have with narcissism, but they're two different people with like the outside world knows nothing about who they are on the inside. We get the inside picture of who they are, and they're completely disconnected, disregarded. And I was reading yesterday, which is very interesting. They're about admiration, but love, they can't love. So admiration to them might mean love. Then they can be admired for their achievements.
Yeah.
But loving themselves. So what happens is, then their approach to relationship is also coming from a place of, what is this person's achievement? And so throughout childhood,
Mhm.
it was all about, achievement in terms of being able to cook better, being able to perform
Right.
better, get more marks and all those things. But
Yeah.
the love was never there.
Right.
Unconditional did not exist. So then
Right.
I like when I saw that, and why is this person different with her tutoring, like tuition students,
Yeah.
than with us? So she has
Yeah.
a completely different way of approaching. I'm like, that's something
Yeah.
crazy. It's not
Right.
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 So when I observed that, I said, I'm going to be a different parent. But
How
then,
interesting.
like, and so that all of that, and I shared about a lot of things, and I was in an arranged marriage,
Yep.
no longer a part of that, but having a child in that place is like
Yeah.
in a marriage you don't want to be.
Right. Right.
Imagine that. So
So
that
hard.
frustration, everything is there.
Yeah.
And I'm about to take all of that out in that moment at my toddler. And I
Wow.
go with my hand all the way in the back, and he's,
Wow. Wow.
and what I saw in that moment in his
Yeah.
eyes
Yeah.
completely changed me.
Wow.
It was like spirit talking to me. What the
Wow.
hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Remember, you promised yourself.
Wow. That's incredible.
That was my changing moment.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible. It's amazing not only that you recognize that so young in your life, at 11, and then carried it with you, and that becoming a mother was when it almost kind of kicked it into action in a sense for you. I find that fascinating. I can relate to that in a few different ways, and especially becoming a mother and how it brings up such stuff because you're so, I almost think you become almost transparent because so much of your resources are going out
Yes.
that it's like there's no room between what's really there and the outside world. So what
Yes.
is really there just comes to the surface.
Yeah. Then it's like, okay, people do have choice whether they want to be congruent or not. For
Mm.
me, I could not afford to give myself that choice. I did not want to,
Yeah,
because why should I just pass on trauma from generation to generation to generation?
amazing.
What is it that I can do at my end to stop it? Because I know how it damaged me.
Amazing.
And I'm still processing all of that. I'm still healing from that.
Yeah,
So why, and why is it important that I be as authentic as possible, whether others care or not?
right. Right.
Because through sharing my story, my journey, maybe somebody's life will change.
Absolutely. I'm
So
sure.
how is that
Sure.
without that authenticity? It's
Yeah.
impossible. So that congruence became important, which is why public speaking was a tool, writing was a tool, and practicing that meditation. All of those were tools
I love that.
to getting
And
to know.
through hearing your story, it kind of brings to light why those tools or how those tools maybe were helpful, and gives kind of the depth behind that, and coming to know yourself, coming full circle to where you're almost more at peace or grounded with yourself, can speak from an authentic place. And almost as a byproduct of that, maybe, it brings you to speak from a more, I guess, a less anxiety fueled place, almost just more centered and less fear there when you're speaking and connecting with people. Gives you that place to connect from an authentic part of yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's incredible. That's amazing. So I would add to your, if I'm 18 start meditating and read
Meditation. Well, I will, I
self-love.
will, yeah, I will, yes. And whatever it is that you can practice to get to know yourself, really,
Yeah, right,
you know.
right.
So
Yeah,
it can look like anything, but if you don't know yourself, universities are not going to tell you anything about you. You graduate into
you're right.
adulthood without knowing anything about yourself.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, Then you have the rest of your life to figure it out, or until you have a baby, right? Or
Yeah,
after
now
you have a
people don't want
baby.
to have bababies.
That is a
Don't
thing,
want
isn't it?
relationships. It is
I read about
crazy.
that too. Yeah, it is very interesting because it's a whole new level of self-development once you get there, which I would say is just, I mean, it's a whole nother thing, but it'd be, yeah. Well, I have no bias against people who choose not to have children, but I feel like
Yeah,
it's been an amazing journey of self-discovery for myself. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Which, yeah, nothing else can quite push you that far
yeah,
besides a baby, I think. It's
yeah.
amazing.
And it's you have to choose it. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess
you do.
and it has to come from like all of this work that you do, I do. Uh, Nobody can tell us, okay, do it, and then we're gonna do it. We're gonna come to it when we come to it, and then we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah,
keep telling people, okay, meditate or try doing this, try doing that. I can't. And
right.
then so like people come to that saying, okay, no, according to my religion, I can't. This happened. This actually happened when I
Interesting.
was hosting some meditation sessions and say
Yeah.
my according to my belief, faith, whatever, I can't. And then that same person was there because she was going through a mental health problem herself, and she was
How interesting.
a doctor. And I would say, like, to if sitting there and observing your breath has
Yeah,
got anything to do, just ask yourself if that's got anything to do with religion or not.
interesting. Right.
So
Right.
there is resistance to meditation.
Yeah. Well, and it makes
Massive
sense
resistance.
because if you're not comfortable with what's inside, or you don't know what's there, fear of the unknown or other, and just being comfortable with distraction, I guess, too, even as basic as that, makes sense why there's a resistance there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why it takes a lot of courage to
Mhm.
love yourself.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, I know I, for one, am going to be ordering your book. I love that. I love that. And I'm very much looking forward to learning the tools and looking at those and saying, how can that deepen awareness for myself, and how could I use that to strengthen um my practice or mothering or any of the above. I think
Yeah.
that's brilliant and it's beautiful. And I thank you so much for sharing not only your insights, but your personal story. I think if anything, this has been such a great example of someone showing up completely authentically and from a place of love. And I just want to say thank you so much for that. It's just been a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I feel like as you've communicated and told those pieces, it's just I've almost felt it as much as I've heard it. So I thank you for that. It's a gift and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure talking to you as well. When you were talking about the books, or even like the practices, this last part, I was the word that came up was study. You
Mm,
know, how much studying we're doing, and like advising
yeah,
an 18-year-old what to do.
yeah,
Okay, you studied books, you're studying the outside world. How many people are going to tell you, hey, you study yourself?
I love that.
Meditation is
I love
self-study.
that. Yeah,
Um, so I don't, I'm mostly drawn to personal development books, and I will do the exercises. I
yeah,
will reread it
yeah.
until that becomes like, visceral. I
Mhm.
know what this knowledge is,
Yeah,
but I know it at a deeper level.
yeah.
That's like, so my book is, people read books, I study,
I love it.
because you have to study yourself and get to know
Right.
yourself.
You're right. And everyone takes something different from a resource or a tool, or you get from your perspective maybe what you need to, or what you allow yourself to in that moment. So yeah, no, I completely agree. That's so
And
helpful.
thank you. When I'm close to 900 something followers on Medium, it's a
Notice.
personal goal.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a personal goal for me. It's taking a while, doesn't matter. But when I
Uh-huh.
hit 1,000,
Yeah.
my aim is to 1,000 followers. My aim
Mhm.
is to publish the book in print, make it
Oh,
available on
yes.
Amazon in print,
Oh,
because
I love
a
it.
lot of people want, like, they're just downloading the ebook, but
Yes.
I personally like physical books,
I
so
love
it'll
it.
be something interesting.
I love it. Yeah. So for
It's
myself and
very
for
convenient.
anyone else,
I don't know
so
how long you would wait.
if we
Yeah.
wanted to order it today, would we go on to your website? Is that or
No.
your media? How would we download your ebook or how would I access it?
um it's you can find it on Amazon, Wired for
Perfect.
Self-Love, by that name, and I can share the link with you, because
Perfect.
and like I have it across my Medium as well.
I
So
did see that. I would love to include it with this. Because I think it'd be great for people to just be one click away and yeah, have it right there.
yeah,
So
yeah,
brilliant. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Neha. I just feel so connected to you, and this has been the most enjoyable hour I have had. It's just so lovely.